Indiana Fever might be screwed, and we have to break this down with everybody being so thirsty, jumping at all of these other leagues, jumping at all of this other money alongside the WNBA CBA negotiation, which is looking to add 54, make the season 54 games. So they're trying to add 10 more games on top of what they played last season. This presents a serious scheduling conflict for the WNBA and Project B, as these two seem like...
The Indiana Fever played an incredibly dangerous game, and now it's blowing up in their faces. In a league where sentimentality gets punished and hard decisions define survival, the Fever chose loyalty over ruthless roster management. That gamble is now threatening to cost them everything. Fans are furious, and for good reason. One of the team's most beloved players, Sophie Cunningham, is suddenly on the chopping block, with her future in Indiana hanging by a thread. This is not just about losing a role player. This is a franchise-level miscalculation that risks unraveling the entire foundation built around Caitlin Clark's arrival. The new WNBA landscape demands brutal efficiency, and hesitation can be fatal. Indiana may have already sealed its own fate, alienating its fan base, destabilizing its roster, and jeopardizing its long-term future. The silence from the front office is deafening, and as the reality of this oversight sets in, what's unfolding looks far worse than anyone anticipated. This isn't a minor setback. It's a full-scale nightmare for the franchise.
Calendar. Now this is a problem. Kelsey Mitchell is signed with Project B. Kelsey Mitchell is not signed in the WNBA right now. Let's be clear here. So, how is that supposed to work? How's that supposed to work? Are they going to let her miss parts of Project B so she could play in the WNBA? I highly doubt it. Here says the Startup League, which plans for its inaugural season to begin November and extend through April, said this week that its Tokyo tournament will start March 26, 2027. Now, check this out. Here it says, let's get to the meat and potatoes, man. KT.
At the heart of this crisis lies the WNBA's prolonged and unresolved CBA negotiations, which have effectively hijacked the entire offseason. League business remains frozen, preventing teams like Indiana from making the decisive moves needed to stabilize and strengthen their rosters. No free agent offers can be extended. No contracts can be finalized. Key players are left stranded in limbo with no clarity about their future. This pause is more than an inconvenience, it's a strategic catastrophe. Once negotiations finally conclude, teams will be forced to cram months of critical decisions into a dangerously short window. That kind of pressure invites rushed judgments, panic signings, and costly mistakes. For the Fever, a team desperately trying to capitalize on the momentum generated by Caitlin Clark's arrival, this standstill couldn't come at a wise time. The opportunity is there, but the clock is working against them.
And potatoes. Boom. According to a source familiar with negotiations, the WNBA is proposing an increase from 44 games to 50 to 54 games in the new CBA. The league's proposed start date for training camp is as early as mid-March, with the finals ending in November. A number of league sources expressed confusion over a potential mid-March start date, questioning how training camp could overlap with the NCAA schedule and what the expectation would be for rookies. Training camp started April 27 last season.
And the problems don't stop there. One of the most immediate threats facing Indiana is the league's proposed schedule overhaul. The WNBA is pushing to expand the season to 54 games, an increase of 10 games. But the real danger isn't just the heavier workload. It's the timing. The league wants training camps to begin as early as mid-March, a dramatic shift that creates a direct collision with other professional basketball commitments. Most notably, it clashes with Project B, a rival league where Fever star Kelsey Mitchell has already signed a lucrative contract. The overlap is unavoidable, and it places Indiana on the brink of a roster crisis that could erupt before the season even begins.
Project B and the WNBA seem to be on a collision course. Now, even if they don't start in March and they start the season later, Project B, they're still gonna bump into Project B's schedule. How's that going to work when you got players under contract in the WNBA and signing to Project B? How's this going to work? There's going to have to start being some sort of exclusivity in these deals to where you can't play in this league. You can't play in that league. That's what it's going to have to be, or else it's just going to be a big issue. Here it says on Sports Illustrated, Indiana Fever face big decisions once WNBA CBA is done. WNBA.
Kelsey Mitchell's commitment to Project B has now become a ticking time bomb for the Fever. Her contract is already signed, and Project B's Tokyo tournament stop is scheduled to begin on March 26, 2027. If the WNBA moves forward with a mid-March training camp, the schedules will collide head-on. That leaves Indiana facing an impossible question. Do they pressure Mitchell to miss parts of Project B, risking legal and relational fallout? Or does Mitchell honor her existing contract, potentially missing critical WNBA games? This isn't just a scheduling inconvenience, it's a test of loyalty, contracts, and organizational leadership. And the wrong answer could fracture the team before the season even tips off.
Sports Illustrated, Indiana Fever face big decisions once WNBA CBA is done. WNBA business is on pause amid CBA negotiations, but the Indiana Fever must prepare for when the floodgates open. Now, here it says the WNBA CBA negotiations have hijacked the offseason with league business put on pause until a new deal is done. Now, we all know everything is on pause right now, right? They wanted to send out free agent offers. They said, nope, don't send out nothing. We're not going to sign anything, all of this stuff. Now, we only got Michaela Timpson, Caitlin Clark, and Aaliyah Boston under contract. Sophie Cunningham already told y'all she's not trying to take...
The league's push for more games and an earlier start also ignores a crucial pillar of women's basketball, the NCAA tournament. Moving the WNBA season into March or early April would directly conflict with the Final Four, one of the sport's biggest stages for emerging stars. This tournament is where future rookies capture national attention and build momentum before entering the league. It's how the next Caitlin Clark becomes a household name. By crowding the calendar, the WNBA risks cannibalizing its own talent pipeline and dulling the hype surrounding its most anticipated draft classes. It's not just short-sighted, it actively undermines the league's long-term growth strategy.
Disrespected by Stephanie White and this new crew that came in here throwing their weight around, throwing her to the back burner for Dewana the Scammer, Bonner, and Natasha Howard, and all these people that was absolute trash for the team. Throwing her to the back burner just for her to show up and save everybody's ass again. It's a core four, not a big three. Lexi Hall is a part of the Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell core, and she needs to be treated as such. Here it says, given more transactions than ever will take place in a condensed period of time with players needing to be protected, signed, and drafted. Okay, to expand.
Adding fuel to the fire is the looming expansion draft, which threatens to strip Indiana of even more valuable assets. Last year, the Fever lost Temi Fagbernal to the Golden State Valkyries. This time, the rules are expected to be even harsher. Teams may only be allowed to protect 5 players instead of 6. That single reduction dramatically increases the stakes. Indiana's front office is now forced into an impossible series of choices, knowing that any misstep could cost them a key contributor with no meaningful compensation in return. When you're trying to build a legitimate championship contender around a generational star like Caitlin Clark, losses like this can be devastating.
She will wind up back with the Fever regardless. Now, if you don't protect Sophie Cunningham, you're running a risk. Because if I'm the Toronto Tempo or the Portland Fire, I'm definitely gonna sign Sophie Cunningham, and I'm definitely gonna pay her because due to her being next to Caitlin Clark, she's become a household name in the WNBA. She's gonna help me maybe sell some tickets, even though she's not a max level player. She still benefits my organization, her being on the team, with her brand and image being up because of Caitlin Clark. So if you don't protect Sophie Cunningham, she's good as gone. That's why I'm saying the Indiana...
This is where the Fever's biggest mistake becomes impossible to ignore. Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and Lexi Hall are virtual locks for protection. That leaves just one remaining slot. The final decision comes down to 2 difficult options: Nalissa Smith, a young player still on a rookie contract with significant upside, or Sophie Cunningham, a fan favorite whose visibility has exploded alongside Clark's meteoric rise. It's a brutal choice no team wants to make, and it perfectly illustrates how boxed in Indiana has become. Limited protection slots, high-value players, zero margin for error. This isn't bad luck. It's a self-inflicted crisis, and the consequences may define the Fever's future for years to come.
If the WNBA goes to 54 games, but they start the season later and it trickles on further into November, further down the line, and it interferes with Kelsey Mitchell's Project B contract, what happens? This is what I'm saying, man. This could get crazy. This could get absolutely crazy. But one thing's for sure, two things for certain. KTV gonna keep you updated on everything going on. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the channel, and get down in those comments. I'll see you on the next one.
Leaving Sophie Cunningham unprotected would be a catastrophic gamble, one that borders on organizational negligence. Cunningham has made it clear she wants to remain with the Indiana Fever, but she has also been equally clear about her expectations. She wants a max-level contract, financial security, and the ability to invest in her future, including buying a home. In other words, she is not willing to take a pay cut out of loyalty alone. And she shouldn't have to. Any new expansion franchise, Toronto, Portland, or otherwise, would immediately seize the opportunity to sign her. Cunningham's value has exploded, not just because of her on-court production, but because her brand has been massively amplified by her association with Caitlin Clark. She is now a ready-made asset, a proven player who drives ticket sales, boosts visibility, and brings instant legitimacy to a franchise. Losing her wouldn't simply mean losing a rotation player. It would mean squandering one of the most tangible benefits of the Caitlin Clark effect. This situation goes far beyond sentimentality. It is about smart business. Sophie Cunningham is a known commodity in a league desperate for recognizable faces and marketable personalities. Her market value has skyrocketed, and failing to protect her doesn't just risk losing her. It actively empowers a rival expansion team by handing them instant fan interest, media coverage, and competitive credibility. That kind of mistake reflects a serious misunderstanding of play evaluation and modern market dynamics in the post-Caitlin Clark era. At the same time, Indiana is facing another looming financial hurdle, Kelsey Mitchell's contract. If the Fever want to retain Mitchell, it will almost certainly require offering her a max deal. That alone is a massive commitment. Combine that with Cunningham's demand for top-tier compensation and the necessity of securing Lexi Hull, and the Fever's salary cap is stretched to its absolute limit. As it stands, only Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and Alyssa Smith are currently under contract on existing deals. The front office is staring down the monumental challenge of re-signing and protecting nearly its entire core without hemorrhaging talent or crippling itself financially. Lexi Hull's situation adds yet another layer of tension. The source material highlights how she was repeatedly disrespected by the previous coaching staff, pushed aside, undervalued, and treated as expendable. Yet despite that treatment, Hull consistently delivered when the team needed her most. She showed up, stabilized lineups, and covered for others in critical moments. She is not a fringe piece. She is an integral part of the Fever's core alongside Clark, Boston, and Mitchell. Failing to prioritize her protection and fair compensation would be a profound mistake, one that risks damaging team morale and sending a dangerous message to players who sacrifice and perform despite adversity. Compounding all of this is the WNBA's insistence on an earlier season start, which creates an unavoidable conflict with Project B. Regardless of how the league adjusts its calendar, even if the WNBA pushes deeper into November, it will still overlap with Project B's schedule, where players like Kelsey Mitchell are already contractual committed. This puts the league at a crossroads. Either it allows players to juggle competing schedules, an unsustainable long-term solution, or it begins enforcing exclusivity clauses in WNBA contracts. That reality is becoming increasingly unavoidable. As players sign deals across multiple leagues, a collision course is inevitable. The WNBA, eager to capitalize on its surge in attention and ratings, may push to lock players into exclusive commitments. But that move would force athletes to choose between the WNBA and other lucrative opportunities like Project B. Such a restriction would severely limit player freedom, potentially alienate top talent, and create long-term resentment among players seeking to maximize both earnings and career longevity. The current situation leaves the Indiana Fever with alarming instability. For the foreseeable future, only Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and Alyssa Smith are guaranteed under contract. That means the team will be forced to navigate an unprecedented number of free agent decisions within a condensed time frame once the CBA negotiations conclude. Nearly the entire roster must be re-signed at once, leaving virtually no margin for error and dramatically increasing the risk of losing key contributors to rival teams. From a broader perspective, the WNBA's proposed earlier start date is a strategic disaster for both player development and fan engagement. Shortening the off-season while overlapping with the NCAA tournament leaves incoming rookies with less time to prepare, less time to build hype, and fewer opportunities to transition smoothly into the professional game. It also diminishes the draft's impact, one of the league's most important moments for generating excitement and visibility. Instead of leveraging its momentum, the league appears to be creating internal conflicts that directly undermine the very stars driving its ratings growth. The Fever's dilemma is further intensified by the growing competition for player talent. Project B and other aggressively pursuing top players with better pay, clearer schedules, and greater flexibility. This competitive landscape gives players unprecedented leverage. By adding more games and pushing for an earlier start, the WNBA risks pushing talent away rather than retaining it, making Indiana's roster decisions even more critical and far more prone to irreversible mistakes. The uncertainty surrounding the CBA negotiations has triggered a domino effect of problems for the Fever. Player retention is on hold. Long-term planning is impossible. While this pause may be unavoidable at the league level, it leaves Indiana dangerously exposed. They can't react to market shifts, can't secure their talent, and can't prepare strategically for what comes next. The longer this drags on, the greater the risk that the Fever will be caught flat-footed when the floodgates finally open. Adding to the pressure is the ironic reality that the league's ratings surge is heavily tied to Caitlin Clark. While her presence has undeniably boosted viewership, the league's proposed changes and Indiana's struggle to retain key players threaten to undermine that very success. Star power alone is not enough. If the roster around Clark is weakened by poor decisions or forced departures, the ratings boost could prove fragile and temporary. The Indiana Fever are trapped in a deeply troubling predicament. They face the very real possibility of losing Sophie Cunningham, ongoing scheduling conflicts tied to Kelsey Mitchell, and a financial and structural crunch unlike anything they've encountered before. These are not minor issues. They are fundamental fractures in the team's foundation, threatening to derail momentum before Caitlin Clark's second season even begins. Ultimately, this situation exposes a profound strategic failure, not just by the Fever, but potentially by the league itself. With the global spotlight firmly fixed on Caitlin Clark, the priority should be stability, clarity, and maximizing her impact. Instead, Indiana finds itself caught in a perfect storm of CBA uncertainty, expansion draft threats, and critical player retention battles. Fans are erupting because they recognize what's at stake: a rare, golden opportunity slipping away, jeopardized at the very moment it should have been protected.